Good morning, 6th graders. We are back with Northern and Southern TULIP Lesson 2, the history of the regions. Again, our central question is the same from the last history. Why do civilizations rise and fall? Why do some empires or groups still exist, whereas others died off? Your terms to know. And then we've got our timeline again. This one goes pretty far back. We're going all the way back to 600 BC. That means before Christ, AD, Anno Domini, which means in the year of our Lord. So we're talking about all the way back when basic city-states, which was essentially one city and its surrounding area, was almost like its own country. And then all the way up until 2008, which is the world financial crisis. All right, so let's get right into our stuff here. So number one, we need to say, what is the definition of a city-state? Well, we have that. It's straight up in our key terms. It's also right here. They're independent. We're just going to go ahead and actually just write down the exact thing. Independent political unit. That includes a city and its surrounding area. Essentially, what you're looking at here is just the central Texas region. You would be saying, okay, San Antonio and the area right around San Antonio, that is its own small independent country. Seguin and all the farmland and grassland area right around here, we would be our own little nation. New Braunfels would be their own little nation. Austin, San Marcos, all these city areas would basically be their own small independent nations, as opposed to what you have now, where you have larger groups all, banding together and creating a large nation. All right, let's flip the page, go to number 2. Read the text on the right, highlight the passage that explains how Greek city-states were taken over by another kingdom, and then we need to circle the name of the king who conquered them. All right, pretty simple. Let's go here. So the very first one talks about years of war and everything like that. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to highlight this entire paragraph right here, because this is going to tell us all about how they were conquered, and then it also tells us who. It tells us Alexander the Great is the one who conquered them. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to circle his name. There we go. All right, number 3, what areas did Rome come to control? So if you remember, we already know a little bit about the Roman Empire because we learned about it in History of Western Europe, but we're going to go ahead and write down some more here. So we know that they controlled the entire Italian peninsula because that is where the Roman Empire started and where it first started to move around. It controlled all of Spain. It controlled the island of Sicily. It controlled the region of Eastern Europe, which is known as Macedonia. That is basically the land right east of Italy. It controlled the entire island area of Greece. And it controlled this place called Asia Minor. Asia Minor is the term given to the area in the Middle East where you have Turkey and like Jordan and some countries over there. It's also referred to in some places as Anatolia. You'll see it a few other times. All right, number 4. How did warfare affect the civilizations of Greece, Rome, and the Vikings? So a big thing that had happened, anytime you have warring groups, you take over places, you get new lands. So it brought new territories under control of these people. So new territories. Okay. What it also did is it caused the end of empires. As you had one group going through and conquering stuff, other groups faded away. The Greeks were taken out by Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was eventually removed with the start of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was really, devastated when you had a lot of people from the east, like Genghis Khan and stuff like that, come in, and the Mongols, and some of the Germanic tribes. And then the Vikings eventually faded out as well. All right, moving on. We have number 5. Read the text on the left. Underline the definition of Renaissance. So we're just going to go ahead, and it's this entire sentence here. This breakthrough resulted in the Renaissance, a period of artistic and intellectual activity. Okay, why was the printing press such an important lesson or invention? So the printing press, if you don't know what that is, that's that big, weird wooden contraption where you actually put a piece of paper in it and someone would physically press down and create a written document. If you've ever seen a tortilla press, it works the same way, only instead of making tortillas, you're basically making books. All right, so what this helped is it allowed the printing and spreading of ideas, books, and documents. And that really helped out because until the printing press became popular, the only people who could read and write were going to be your nobles and kings and queens and the other very rich and wealthy people, or you were going to have the members of the church. At this time, the regular people who went to the church and the day-to-day people that, if we all went back in time, you and I would all be, they were not very well educated because they didn't need to be. They did not need to know how to read. They didn't really need to know how to write. Most of them worked in fields or things like that, so they needed to know how to do manual labor. What this allowed is it allowed other people to start to become more educated because they had access to books and reading and things like that. All right, number 7, which country was able to create an empire in the Americas and why? So you should know this one already. The answer is Spain. We know that Spain took over a very large portion. And the main reason is they were the strongest empire in Europe at this time. As you go through European history stuff, and if you get into high school, you can take a pre-AP class called European History. Actually, I think it's just an AP class. They actually go through and you really see all that stuff on there. And there goes my phone. I'm going to go ahead and just let that ring, though, so that way I can get your guys' stuff taken care of. So we're just going to go ahead and ignore that, and they'll call back in a minute, and I'll get that stuff done. All right, number 8. Why did Christianity change as it took hold in southern and northern Europe? So in the north, they became Protestant. And then in the south, they stayed Catholic. What you had is the Protestant Reformation also kind of changed kind of a northern and southern split for parts of Europe. So areas in the north, Germany, and further up north from there, they switched over to Protestant, whereas the southern countries like Italy and Spain and stuff, they all stayed Catholic. All right, let's flip the page over. We got 9, 10, and 11, and then we'll go ahead and go over your guys' writing prompt and then move on. Number 9, how did Spain change during the 1800s? How did Italy change? So the big thing with Spain is they lost overseas empires. That's when they started to lose their areas in South America and stuff like that. And then for Italy, what happened to them is they were able to unite the separate territories, the city-states, as one country. So they united separate territories. So instead of having just Rome or Palermo, or I'm trying to think of some of the other cities there, Milan and stuff like that, as being their own independent city-states, they became one unified country. And next one, we need to circle the countries that became democracies after World War II. So Italy became a democracy, so did Spain, Portugal, and Greece. Okay, and our very last one, what country did Italy side with during World War II? You should already know that. That was Nazi Germany. Okay, moving down for our writing prompts. We have 2 of them. How did the invention of the printing press contribute to the Renaissance? So we talked about that. You should be able to find that answer pretty easily. Why did the Emperor Constantine move the capital of the Roman Empire from Rome to Byzantium? That's going to be back in the very first part talking about the earlier history in there. Find that out. Write it down. All right, I will see you guys again for Northern and Southern Europe, Lesson 3, Life in the Regions.